And hello, everyone. Welcome to the Real Estate Show on KCMX News Media 880. Pete Pelcaster and Joe Brett, the real estate guys, with you today. And thanks for joining us here in mid-July as we continue on what's been a hot, dry summer, but a hot real estate market, obviously, all the way around. I still can't believe sometimes, Joe, what we talk about and how activities are up, listings are up, sales are well. You know, in the first 6 months of this year, $1.9 billion was sold in real estate in Jackson County. 1.9 billion. That's a lot.
That's a staggering amount.
Yeah. I mean, it's on pace for like a $4 billion year, but although sales tip off at the end of the year, so that's why it's still around that 3.5 billion mark, I think, is where it's going to end up by the time the year's over.
You see hardly anything below $200,000 of available inventory. Home prices. Think what it's going to be 10 years from now. Well, when we look at that total, that figure that you just put out.
10 years. Look what it was 10 years ago when we started versus today.
Yeah,
so who knows what it's going to
yeah.
be. You know, it's gonna be. Anyway, Frank Mania is the senior sales representative from Ticor Title. Has been on our show many times before in the last 9 years. You know, this is like year number 10. You know, for us right now. So as
Pete,
crazy
Joe,
as that is,
good to have you back.
Yeah, good, thank you. Good to be back.
Yeah. So like, just tell us a little bit what you've been up to, because Frank has a unique. You see real estate in a very unique perspective. Tell people what you actually do, and how you get this way.
Oh, well, you know, I talk to a lot of people every day. I talk to the lenders. I talk to the realtors. I talk to the commercial brokers. I talk to the builders. And I attend a lot of meetings. I'm part of Rotary clubs, and you know, I hear everything that's going on. You know, lots of things that are going on in the valley. I don't catch everything that's going on. You know, and there's a lot of information that's confidential, and you know, there's a lot of discussion that goes on. But you know, the Rogue Valley and Southern Oregon is just a great place to live, and there's people that are coming from all over the United States that want to live here in the Pacific Northwest.
So I mean, that's part of certainly the driving force behind all these real estate statistics that we see. Obviously, there are people moving here, you know, and it's still roughly that 40-60 split. You know, 40% of the sales roughly are local, are outside people moving here, and 60% are people who are within the area moving. So that 40%, though, I wonder if that's a little bit higher, or you know, but it's certainly there.
That's always been an element of our market as well. That influx.
Yeah, but we see a lot of people from the California market coming up here, and they're coming up with cash. I mean, that's I know some of the lenders have talked to, you know, trying to do lending and financing on real estate. They're struggling a little bit with all the cash buyers that are coming up from California.
Yeah, well, the person who bought my house was a cash buyer, you know, so that's really true. We paid cash then for the next place, you know, so as it goes down the line. So there is roughly about 33%, about a third of sales are cash. Wow. Which is, and it's been
a lot.
And it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah, that's huge.
Anyway, so what else you see going on? I mean, we talk about Joe. You guys go to. I know he goes to the planning commission meetings. There was big news, you know, about future of land growth in our valley with the Land Conservation Development Commission approved Medford's urban reserve plan,
growth
right?
Boundary,
urban growth boundary
urban growth boundary expansion.
Yeah, that was a process that the regional problem solving that went on for, I want to say about 20 years.
20 years,
yeah, somewhere around 20 years, and the cities get the opportunity to identify properties outside of their boundaries that they would like to have or incorporate or annex into their city boundaries. So it's a very long, drawn-out process that takes a lot of planning. And after the city makes their decision, it goes to county. Jackson County approves it. Then it goes to the state.
So it's all done. Is it all done now? For the next 50 years, is that right?
For Medford.
Just for Medford.
Let's talk Medford.
Right. Just Medford.
Just Medford, because I understand Central Point's, they're still working on theirs.
Okay. All right.
Eagle Point's looking at some boundary expansions. Jacksonville and Ashland decided not to participate, from what I understand.
Exactly, yeah.
No surprise there. Ashland, Jacksonville, we're just going to keep infilling and keep having high prices and force people out because we won't do any of it. I understand that.
Right.
Keeps their tax base
Eagle Point is
robust.
Eagle Point already has the biggest city in the county. With 2,400 acres already in their urban growth.
Just not the homes and the people yet, but
they
moved into it.
But they want some more space there.
Right.
Central Point, you know, which has that that line, that goes all the way down Highway 99 so they can connect citywide across the freeway there at exit 35, is now in the city of Eagle Point. I'm sorry, the city of Central Point there. Yeah. So Medford is the only one who's done this. That's funny. I mean, it's just, it is final. And that's, oh, well, I don't know
And Medford was a long process.
Very long process.
And an incredible give and take, which just is replicated in all these other municipalities that go through the process. But it was really a long and intense process to get to a happy medium. And you got to remember, it's not just how you think it should happen and what is best for the areas and the lands that you have. It's got to pass the muster at the state level. And that's where a lot of the work is done. It's like, we know this might be good for us here, but it never go past the state test.
So what is this?
You really have to conform to different masters in the process.
So we're in Medford right now, okay, and look at the traffic, the issues, and all the things that are happening around Medford. Right. And now we're going to expand ourselves out, right? It's going to go out southeast. Most is going to go southeast, right?
All around.
All around, yeah.
All around it, even into the
west side,
into the farmlands and some more of that.
Somewhere around the Oak Grove was the west
and southwest. Garfield,
northwest.
Yes.
MD8, I think, is in Garfield area.
Yes.
So we're soon. Okay. So how soon does this? Is this going to start? We're going to see things. Isn't this down the road like 20 years?
That's going to be a long process.
That's a great question for Frank, though, because he already knows what's in the works. Yeah,
I've talked to I talked to one of the city councilmen, and they said there's still a year out before they can. They're even going to probably even start entertaining any applications for annexation. A couple of land planners I've talked to, they've said. They're getting calls from landowners going, let's start the process now. And one of the land planners said, let's kind of, we need to wait because we don't want to get into the middle of an application and find out that the city has made some changes or crafted some ordinances that
makes sense,
that we're going to have to go back and amend this application again. So let's wait till we're sure that the city's completely 100% on board. Okay. Then we'll start filing the applications for annexation.
So now but a lot of this development and growth is going to take place in Southeast Medford, the Southeast Plan. Remember, years ago we started talking about that, and that's being fulfilled. So we're going to have that whole area, right, is going to look like that, isn't it, in the future?
South.
I wonder how it's going to develop. I mean, what are they going to do? Are we going to have shopping centers out there? How are we going to do this? It's going to be so fascinating to watch it because I think you're right, Frank. It's going to continue to grow. I mean, and Medford is the logical choice because they got land.
I like a lot of the things in that Southeast Plan, though, because trails and connectivity as they expand and as they grow are already planned into that. There have been some good public-private partnerships with the developers and the city.
Yes.
We've got parkland that's coming into play. Yes. And so a lot of that is being accommodated, and some really neat public-private partnerships.
This is
the Medford Parks Foundation is in the middle of those land exchanges.
This is finally
really beneficial.
Okay, this is finally going to show what Medford is going to look like in terms of what its future neighborhoods are going to look like. And if they look like the current ones, then we're not going to achieve much, are we? Unless we have. You got to have units for small units. Not everybody wants these 3-2 houses, and this is what we're facing here.
A lot of our people will begin to.
But so what are we doing? Because I'm worried about. We're going to have a show on the rental market here next month, coming up about it, because it's staggering the issues that housing has developed, and what we're building is not. Frank, if it's for the people from California coming up here to come into these new houses, then that's really defeating our purpose for local people in housing. We can't do it. You can't compete with that. And that's what concerns me.
You also have to answer to what drives the market.
Yeah, and there was
free market.
One comment from a buyer, I guess I heard this secondhand from San Diego, that said that he could have bought 4 houses for what he sold his house for in San Diego.
Well, I understand that.
It used to be 2.
It used to be 2. Now it's 4. I mean, so I mean, there's just a lot of cash coming into the valley in real estate, and they're happy to pay some of the prices that we're seeing on this real estate. I mean, these are good prices.
Well,
for somebody out of the area.
In my experience with this too, because I got a lot of buyers from out of state, for sellers anyway, Californians are not going to overpay for your house. For their house, okay? I mean, they're not.
Yeah.
And so many people think, well, they're Californians. Exactly the way you're describing them. They got money, they're rich.
They can buy 4.
They can buy 4.
We'll take 4.
So therefore, I want you to, but they're not going to overpay for their properties. I mean, they're just not. And I've never seen anybody do that. But anyway. anyways, we go along there. Well, that really concerns me. You should know that because of our mix of housing, this new development coming, how they're going to be. And Medford, I know, is working on additional dwelling units. So is Ashland. These kinds of things are happening. Yep. So I'm hopeful then as we do grow and go out there that we're going to have more of an opportunity to do that. I hope so.
There's a 52-unit development in Grants Pass that is very contentious and went before the council Wednesday of this week up there. And you should have heard the public testimony. I just happen to have to chapter the meeting. But when we get to a point like this and an issue like this, there were the residents of the neighborhood vehemently defending the nature, the quality of their neighborhood. And here were these people making these incredible comments. A woman with her 3 children who lives with her mother with her estranged father, who they divorced when she was little. The housing conditions are so tight that her mother had to move in with her ex-husband, and all of them. And she's saying we desperately need these units. So it's a very compelling debate.
Yes. Well, look, the same thing was said in Ashland when they were going to put in the affordable units down by SOU. The same thing about the unit over here by the Mail Tribune. You know, those kind of the thing about the Hope Village. Remember all the things that were said. And once they've gone in, that has not happened.
That has no.
And neighbors have. We got to realize this. I mean, I think
we've got to accommodate it. That's I mean, we got to continue the discussion. It's a good discussion to have.
Interesting to see how that will go. I don't know, but we need mixes, a mix of housing that we're not getting.
The difference in the point of views is there's a lot of gap to close.
And some of the builder developers that I've talked to, when we talk about building houses at lower values, the numbers. I hate to use this word numbers, but it's all about numbers, bottom line profit. It just doesn't work. I mean, you know, the profit margins are so low, the costs are so high. I mean, I'm seeing and I'm hearing already out both on the commercial and residential side that people that want to either build commercial or build residential, when you look at all the costs, the appraisals aren't even coming into what it's costing to build these units.
Wow.
That's a whole other story.
Let's go back to that subsidized. Oh my goodness, and all the kinds of issues. It's funny, we never solved any of this.
And you got to remember,
we never solved any of it.
The builders and developers are coming off some very lean, very tough years. That they're fortunate to stay in business and be able to meet our needs now.
Well, but that need is for a certain limited audience. It's not for everyone, and you're right. And it's this is supply and demand business, as we've all learned, and that's not going to change. Government's got to play a more active role in making more incentives for people to do this, and that's the only way I think it's going to work.
Public-private partnerships
and public-private partnerships. We've heard them on our show. We've talked to people who've done these things. We just need more of it everywhere. I mean, it is everywhere. Every community actually
and
needs
innovative approaches to meeting those needs.
Well, one of the things Frank also knows, as we're talking with Frank Mania today on the Real Estate Show, is about the commercial activity going around Jackson County. And we're going to take a break here, and we're going to talk to you about what you're hearing about there and what we're seeing out there. More chains. Here we go, huh? More chain restaurants. Here we go in Medford. Anyway, all that ahead on the Real Estate Show. We're going to continue here on KCMX right after this. And welcome back to the Real Estate Show on KCMX News Media 880. Pete and Joe, the real estate guys, with you here today, along with Frank Mania from Ticor Title. He's a senior sales representative there. Don't forget, you can check out any of our past shows at realestateshoworegon.com. We have some terrific shows. You can watch them there. And I guarantee you will learn something, as we do every week. You know, last week was really interesting. We were talking about estate planning and
how poorly I've planned for my
Joe has estate. No plan, and my plan dates back to 1982 when my will was done. You know,
sounds like us though, in a nutshell, right there.
We learned a lot about that.
Will?
It's a little more organized.
Yeah.
Will?
You know, we're not talking about being prepared.
Being prepared? What?
You know,
what?
Prepare.
That's my insurance policy. I have no estate planning. I can't die.
Anyway, today on the show, Frank Mania is a senior sales representative at Ticor Title, and kind of the inside guy on just what's going on around the valley. So commercial real estate. I mean, you certainly at Ticor know what's selling in that area. First of all, is there sales going on in commercial real estate, or what's happening with that?
Yeah, there's lots of people, interested in some of the existing commercial buildings. It's not a lot of the existing inventory is not working for what businesses want to do, so they're looking for land. There's a pretty big demand for commercial land right now.
Commercial land,
I'm hearing that through our 1031 exchange accommodator from some of the local brokers. But then, like we were talking about before, when you start looking at all the costs that are involved, the appraisals aren't coming in. So it's making it's causing some problems for expansion and growth of new buildings.
Do we have, in your opinion, I mean, you've seen around this, do we have enough? We do have quite a bit of industrial land, commercial land around, don't we? I mean, there seems to be quite a bit of it. Do you think? Or are we short?
I think there's an adequate supply.
Okay, all right.
I think the cost is getting some of the numbers that I'm hearing, and I'm not even repeat some of the numbers, but I think the costs are just a little out of sight now. Again,
and the appraisals are reflecting that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the bottom line, how the numbers are going to work.
Really?
Here.
No, I know of two instances in the last month or so with clients and stuff who were both planning on projects, commercial new buildings. Actually, one was a big, huge remodel downtown, and another one was out in the White City area building a whole new deal. Both of them canceled them because the costs, they said, had jumped so high that all of a sudden this stuff just scared everybody. It scared everybody. They said, I got to reevaluate this.
Yeah, there was another hotel group out of California, from what I understand, and I won't go into any specific details of where they were looking, but they're running into the same situation when they're looking at the numbers and the costs of the land. It wasn't going to work, so they were looking at another option of maybe just leasing the land, building that's not even working for them.
That doesn't even work.
Sure. Right.
Wow. Well, that's kind of interesting. Now, what's happening in and around the interchanges? I mean, you look at North Medford up here. There's more stuff going across now from where Dick's and Sporting Goods is and all that. You go to the South Interchange, and we got restaurants galore going up there.
Chains.
What do you hear? What do you hear?
Let's look at this.
Medford's got to be the only place that have three new ones going up in the same place at the same time.
You lived in Ashland for a long time, so you're not familiar with the concept.
I know.
We eat a lot in Medford, I think.
Yes. Well, you don't have that food tax, I guess, so maybe that makes a difference. But
we've got going down at the south side of town.
Okay, what's going on down there?
We got Cracker Barrel coming in.
Yeah.
Five Guys Burgers. Mod Pizza's opening second place.
Oh, okay. Second
facility down there.
I didn't know they had one. Okay.
Yeah, they're up by
Where?
the Ram restaurant up by Dick's Sporting Goods.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
Northgate.
I didn't even know that. Okay.
Well, in that center. Yeah. Then there's the other group across the street.
Okay.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
So back at the South change. What else is going on? What else you hear going on down there?
Whatever they're calling themselves today, IHOB or IHOP, either one. They're coming in across from Walmart, I understand.
Really?
In front of the Sherwin-Williams, there's a pad site there.
In front of Sherwin-Williams right there.
I've heard some people lament the IHOP departure and then would like to see a new one come in. So I'd probably go there.
We had one here. A long time ago.
Strawberry cream, whipped cream pancakes.
Yes.
Fond memories.
You can really tell Medford residents, can't you? You really can.
We eat a lot.
You guys, you do. You're so excited to have these restaurants. That's so funny to me. Anyway, okay. Any other retail? What going on? What's happening at the North Interchange then? What's happening up here?
We've got another new Starbucks drive-through.
That's so exciting.
That's just opened, and I understand Chick-fil-A is going in.
No kidding.
Coming in
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A is coming.
That is. I've heard of them. Yes, they're quite.
And there's going to be some more office space going in there. That's a Colorado group that's been developing that property. Part of it, and it was some of the first plans that I saw was almost all office buildings, but it looks like we've kind of got a little bit more of the retail.
You don't think retail's dead, do you?
I don't know.
It doesn't seem to be.
I don't.
Look at the Medford Center. Look at the big new Sears Tower they're building there, and in their own. I mean,
putting a big investment in there.
There's going to be there's going to be a lot more going on there that you're going to hear soon. But yes,
and since last time I've been on the show, I mean, at the Medford Center, we saw Baja Fresh, the Firehouse has come in. Other chains and. Ashley's moving out to the old Costco.
Ashley Furniture.
They're
out of there now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big move.
And Hobby Lobby's going into that space too.
Out where Costco is, where Costco was.
Costco was. and I saw some renovation already in the Ashley space. I understand that's going to office. I heard that OLCC was taking some space in
the OLCC is moving from that little house on the corner of Crater Lake and East Main into next to John L. Scott, actually,
right
there,
exactly,
which is interesting.
Neighbors,
neighbors of the OLCC.
You guys
We're going to talk about marijuana with them one of these days. Won't that be an interesting discussion?
They're bugging them for guests for the show.
Speaking of cannabis, we haven't talked about that with you. What do you hear in the world that you go into regarding the cannabis world and how it's, and hasn't it changed in the last couple of years since this has all come down?
Well, it's changed a lot. I mean, we've had such a rush in farms and plants and products.
Selling and business.
So
it's crazy.
I mean, the cost is, one of the numbers I heard were like at $1,200 to $1,400 a pound, and now it's like $50 to $100 a pound. Some of the testing on some of the chemical levels or the quality of the product is not there. So I understand there's farms that are already shutting down and trying to sell some of the land.
There's a number of them
that are for sale.
And the thing is, they're not selling because title companies won't even touch them.
Well, we can't. I mean, there's issues
can't.
with the cash that we deal with federal depository institutions like banks, and it's illegal to transact business with.
They have to remove the stuff from the property in order to have it done.
And think of the money that was paid for some of these properties. They came in with top dollar cash,
millions of dollars,
and
property.
Put it down by the millions. You're right.
And so now you got all the fencing that's up there.
Right.
And now in a blink of an eye, the market's just bottomed out for that product.
And I heard
the glut
there was a
that you forecast.
Well, just to tell you how weird that is, in the MLS stats, rural properties where these are located in the 3-month period, April, May, and June of this year, compared to last year, down 25% total. Just in the sheer number of rural properties sold, down 25% from a year ago. The value, though, has still risen a little bit, but the numbers of properties have declined. And in Josephine County, it's down almost 22%. So the rural properties have really hit a skid here. But as you said, though, the demand for them still continues to be, but not for marijuana properties.
No.
But the marijuana properties that are out there are devaluing the other properties because people don't want to be around them and what they've done.
And it's holding back a burgeoning local farming, micro farming, family farming industry. Even when you talk about with your restaurant in Klamath Falls, people that can grow local food items that people from farm to table. That's a big attraction. This could be a big part of our local economy going forward.
Big thing is farm
and the
farm
rural
to school.
land we've got so close to our cities. We're surrounded by incredible forests and farmlands and a real diverse nature of geography.
If you can grow so much marijuana in a greenhouse, you ought to be able to grow local produce in a greenhouse year-round too, couldn't you?
Yes, absolutely.
The issue to me has always been about how much energy these use and things like that, but solar systems. Did I just change the quick subject? Did you see those big power places that that Google has and Facebook have up in Prineville, up in Prineville, Crick County? They are now building solar panels on them because each one of those warehouses that house those, those servers. Is enough to light 100,000 homes, and they're now putting solar. They're going to do the entire thing in solar to get rid of that use of power for that way. Isn't that something?
That's unbelievable.
Well, they couldn't keep up with the demand otherwise. I don't think.
Well, you'd be sucking up more energy than
start damming the Columbia River again.
We'll build another dam to support Facebook and Google in their warehouses along in there in Crick County. It's like the aluminum industry, almost the way it was, of taking power like that. It's amazing.
We should put that on the ballot just to watch Portland flee.
Yeah, it's just really funny. Anyway, we're talking with Frank Mania today from Ticor Title. Retail, though, I don't think is dead, and certainly the developments are going to continue. I don't think there's no question about that. But there's a lot of small businesses and so many people that move here, do business out of their house, travel back and forth places. It's phenomenal. It's the jobs that's been changing up here mostly, don't you think, over the last few years?
Yeah, I think so. I think back on the retail, what I'm hearing. I mean, we're just short of retail space. That's just the way it is. I'm not sure how and when that's going to correct. Maybe when we get through all the issues with urban growth boundary. I mean, there is both commercial and residential property that's will be potentially annexed into the city, and I think we'll start seeing some growth there. And then we got the Stewart Meadows Village project.
Yeah, that is.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, that's a huge project. And when I talked to the owner just yesterday, they're getting a lot of interest.
A lot of interest
in doing some development or opening businesses down on that side.
And they worked hard and long to be able to get that to develop.
And one of the incentives they use to lure you in is they'll build the building for you.
Yeah.
They will. They're going to build everything.
They're going to build them for you.
They're going to build everything. Build a suit.
You do build a suit. You do the interior yourself, whatever you want to make out of it. So you're going to see that. Well, we'll see if commercial activity in terms of building is going to slow down because of tariffs or whatever, but that is a big concern. It's just at least the people that I've talked to, that prices have gone up so much in trying to build commercial that they've just stopped. And we don't want to see that happen, especially now, because it creates jobs. It continues to supply a need. If there was no need, as you say, they wouldn't be doing it, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
No matter what we think, it's supply and demand, and there's a lot there. All right. We got a break coming up here again, and we get to the last part. What about the housing world, the Ticor Title? We're going to talk about that a little bit with Frank and anything else he wants to share with us, because jobs create wealth, and all these things come together, and the real estate market, the world of real estate around us, man, the economic impact in this county, in Josephine County, and even in Klamath County, as busy they've been getting, is enormous.
Yes.
And it's not slowing down. That's a good thing. It's it generates itself, feeds on itself. A lot of people have a lot of confidence right now, despite all the things going on around our world. Our area is thriving right now, more than I think we've seen it in a long time. That's a good thing, too. We're going to take a final break, come back with Frank Mania, Pete and Joe, the real estate guys, back after this. And welcome back to the Real Estate Show in KCMX News Media 880. Pete and Joe, the real estate guys, with you here today. Frank Mania from Ticor Title, senior sales rep, also joining us here. Next week, we'll have a show, mortgage interest rates. Didn't go up here the last 2 weeks. Right. So interesting, to follow that. As you know, for every 1% rise in interest rates, you lose 10% of the buyers. So, boy, that's going to change the whole thing. It's hinged still on interest rates.
I've got the clock ticking on my 6 months to refi, so I just want those rates to stay nice and steady, nice and nice like they are. Just stay right there for a little while. We'll be good.
Well,
don't rush things.
I mean, the government is not going to, I don't think, is going to let interest rates go up very much, because that's kind of like the goose that laid the golden egg, is that, and if it disappears, that golden egg is going to go, and a lot of people are going to be left holding the bag. But then we said this probably before 2008 too, so hopefully that's not going to happen, because the biggest change always still seems to be lending is much stricter than it was prior to the last crash.
Yes.
By far.
Takes more than a pulse.
By far.
Get a loan.
So I'm confident that, as Lennox Scott was telling us a few weeks ago, they're pretty confident this is going to continue. Little dips along the way, but it's going to continue to go. It's still a good investment, no matter what, right? Lending
practices have gone back to some more conservative lending practices that we've seen in years past.
Yeah.
But I want to get off the subject here, but one of the issues, one of the contributing factors to the crash of the Depression in 1929 were interest-only mortgages.
Interest-only mortgages.
Did we learn anything?
Apparently not.
Did we learn anything? So okay, we don't want to go down that road. Let's not go there again.
Well, there was someone in our office asked about interest-only mortgages the other day, and the response was, no, we're not doing those anymore. That's not good. No, we don't want to go down that road. No. Okay, so we talked a little bit about, we know that we're going to develop here, and Medford is leading the way here. It's the biggest city in our county. We're going to see that. We certainly know about commercial areas, that the interchanges seem to be the areas of going, but there's interest coming in other places. We also know that commercial building is problematic right now because of costs. that could put a little damper on our economy. So Ready, I know you deal with a lot of times with the Southern Oregon Regional Economic Development Group out of there. They're actively out? What's happening along those fronts?
They've got some groups that they're talking to. It's hard to get businesses to move up here.
Right.
The labor market is a problem.
Yeah.
The labor market. And then if you're gonna move a business here, where's the housing market at? Okay. So can you move 200-300 families here in a mid-sized business?
No, we're not going to get that. That's not going to happen, I don't think.
And to your point, Oregon Live had an article, Grants Pass, I think, was the 4th worst city in the nation in
for
cities of a certain size.
Okay.
For a job index of the wages, the opportunities, the availability. And I think Medford was in the top 50. So it was an indicator of some of the stressors on our job market here. We don't have a hugely ready and waiting workforce, and we don't have hugely ready and waiting lands and things like that. It's going to be a slow grow in those.
Well, they're going to be small types of things.
There'll be small businesses.
That's going to be a catalyst as small businesses
and define that. I keep hearing what
does that mean?
I sat next to somebody at a chamber lunch one day, and the small businesses, or he was talking about, or medium business, 499 employees or less. It's all relative. 500 employees, 500 families. Where are you going to put them?
Yeah, well, that would be a lot. Certainly, one of the big success stories has been Amy's Kitchen here.
Oh, absolutely.
I've got people who out there, and what a success they have been. So that we can handle this, but we're not going to get that type of business. We seem to be getting mostly, or a lot of certainly people who work at home, fly in and out of here. That's why that airport is booming. I think so many people travel back and forth on business.
You're absolutely
That's
right.
certainly part of it.
Yeah.
And by the way, the airport, hats off to the Jackson County airport people, because look at the competition has come in, and actually prices have lowered. You know that?
Yeah.
Out of here a little bit.
Yeah,
They really have.
Yeah.
Seattle or even south with United, my friends.
For years, we thought that was against the law for
Yes.
the Medford Airport to lower prices. We just thought it was the law of the land.
And so they're talking about having maybe to expand that airport again. It was built to expand out further, and so it's going to a million people are going to go through there.
Plus,
this
it's
year.
cool to see jets fly over Medford instead of little propeller blades.
Well, there's just a lot. There's a lot happening. That's really good. That's really good news. I mean, when Frank first came on our show, probably 7-8 years ago, back in the day,
were we talking about housing shortage?
We did.
Yep.
We talked about housing shortage. We talked about no commercial activity. We talked about how many vacancies did we see all over the valley, everywhere. I mean, you drive down downtown Grants Pass right now. I mean, it's full.
They're doing well.
Yeah.
It's amazing how small businesses. Those are small businesses.
Those are small business, mom and pop
that
shops.
are out there doing that and thriving and creating. People are actually out there being entrepreneurial, and I love that part of our world. Create something for yourself.
Opportunity.
Don't just sit and complain if you don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and large businesses too. And I think we saw this. Sony tried to come in here years ago, and there was issues with Medford about tax breaks, etc. Anyway, there wasn't, the incentives weren't there, and they ended up going to Springfield. But I saw IBM. This was back in the 1980s. Go into Tucson, and they created like 3,000 or 4,000 jobs. But as their product changes and their facilities change, they pull out all of a sudden.
Right.
And now you just dump 3,000 or 4,000 people onto the street.
Yeah.
So do we want to see that kind of growth come in here?
No. Good point. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. And I think we love our. We also have clean air issues. You can't bring any industry that's going to put certain amounts of things into the air, so that limits us as well. I've heard that many times. We've had different discussions about that. But overall, I would say, as we're out of time here, overall, as we sit here in mid-July, the economy is doing well. Real estate is doing well. The big concern, I just wanted to say, in rentals, in Jackson County, this was a stunning figure this week. They had our office meeting. 36.9% of a person's income is going to pay rents in Jackson County, which is way high. Yep. It's way high, and
it's not sustainable.
That's really a concern. That's why, if you come and look at it, buying a home it's a better deal than that, especially if you're up to that kind of thing.
And we learned that we don't need growth just for growth's sake. We need proper growth and the right growth. And
you're absolutely right.
And props a lot of our counties, municipalities,
Yeah.
and our regional So Ready type folks are really kind of working towards that common goal.
You're right. And if we grow, can we please have the mix of units? They got to be required. I don't know how you're going to do it, but we saw it.
We have to incentivize it or stimulate it.
We saw these in Newport, of all places. Amazing neighborhoods of this. Small, tiny houses up to big McMansions almost. You know, so we can do this.
You give me the coast, you give me a tiny house, I'm in.
Be creative.
800 square feet.
Let's be creative,
That's
right?
too small.
Before we let you go, how's Ticor Title in terms of just your volume of real estate transactions?
You know, we're doing well. Nationally, we still continue to be the largest title insurance company in the nation. Locally, we've been expanding. We've been hiring some new people.
Is that right?
We have some great management on board right now, and
that's great.
Very positive, very optimistic. Great place to work. People are very positive there.
And when things go well, man, everything seems to, just go well. It goes down it's a trickle down effect, right? When it goes well, everything goes well, and everybody's good.
Yeah,
it's good to hear that. Good to hear Ticor's
great update. Well. Thank you, Frank.
And thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
We'll visit with you again in a while.
Thanks for the opportunity.
We'll see what's happening. Yeah, it's always good to visit with Frank.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that'll do it for the Real Estate Show here on July the 21st is our date. Don't forget, you can check out any of our past shows at realestateshoworegon.com. Some terrific shows. Please go check them out as well. We will talk to you next Saturday right back here on KCMX. In the meantime, have a great week, everybody, and God bless you all.